أريد أن أنتقد أحدا، لكن بهالطريقة طيب شو النتيجة؟ أنا بدي الحصيلة. ما هو أي واحد بيشتغل بأي شغل آخر الشهر بقول بدي حصيلة. الحصيلة شو؟ النتيجة شو؟ ولذلك احنا كثير حريصين على أن يتوقف هذا القتال غير المتكافئ. غير المتكافئ. طب احنا مطلق صاروخ الله بيعلم وين بروح. طيارة تطلع على يا محمد اطلع من الغرفة لأن رح نضربها بعد دقيقتين.
Unequal violence. Anthony Fury in for Ezra Levant. The conflict in the Middle East is, like it or not, treated by many like a team sport. Picking your team, which side you agree with. But I would argue that regardless of your politics, the game changed when the terrorist group Hamas ascended to power. Is it even right to talk about equivalency right now between the two sides? How inherently different are the methods employed by Hamas and the Israeli Defense Forces? Eden Attias joins me now from Ottawa. He's Israel's Ministry of Defense attaché to Ottawa and holds a lengthy military resume. Thank you, sir, for joining me on the program. Were you surprised to hear Mahmoud Abbas point out unequal violence?
Well, Anthony, thank you first for inviting me. And maybe before I address your question, a few words of how the situation in Israel in the last few days. You know, while we have our night sleep in Canada, in Ottawa, more than 50 rockets were launched to Israeli cities and to Israeli villages. I have my parents live in Ashdod, which is a city near Gaza Strip. My brother will live in Haifa. So from Ashdod up to Haifa, and they have to spend the night with their kids and my other siblings in the shelter. And this is an intolerable situation. More than 500 rockets in a few days with no real reason. So it's not a matter of symmetric or non-symmetric forces. Israel is a sovereign country. Israel is a democratic country that needs to protect its civilians. And this is what we're doing. You know, we tried at the beginning to restrain and we didn't react in the full force and the full capacity. And by the way, we're still not operating our full force and full capacity that we can to impose on Gaza Strip. We're doing it gradually because the main aim of the government of Israel is to try to stop this rocket firing and to bring the kind of a break back again.
One thing I find very interesting that Israel even phones ahead when they are planning an attack, particularly in a region where rockets are fired, where there might be some civilians around, but then bizarrely enough, Hamas has been taking to the airwaves and saying, no, don't pay attention to it. This is scare tactics or a misinformation campaign. Explain that to me.
Well, you need to understand, you know, where we're coming from. Again, I said already, it's a democratic Western. You know, the value for Jewish in large, the value of life is a high value. We appreciate life. We protect life of our citizen, and we as well try to minimize casualties on the other side. But in this case, you're fighting terrorists. You know, he's sitting in his house on the other bedroom. He has a rocket launcher, and he launched the rocket to hit and kill civilians on the other side. And you need to hit this rocket back. And we try and to give, you know, which is, I'm not sure there is any military in the world that doing this kind of trying to give them a notice, just go out because we want to have the launcher. And we know in many cases it saved the life of the terrorists, but still, we're willing to save the life of an innocent citizen if we can.
And I was then surprised to hear that Hamas had said the other day, all Israelis are targets. That really doesn't suggest equivalency at all in these two tactics. The Israeli tactic seems overly generous, but then perhaps we should expect nothing better out of Hamas.
Well, again, I think you talked at the beginning, if you can make this equation between a democratic sovereign state, as you know, you live in Canada, and a terror organization. We're not dealing with, you know, with a country, a kind of, this is an organization that took over a country. It's a terror organization. It's acquired and acknowledged as terror organization. And this is, if you try to find kind of rationale the way it's acting, he is willing to hit civilians just for the purpose.
So what would you say to folks who is still, like I said, I believe the game changed with Hamas, regardless of your politics. What would you say to folks who still say, no, we're looking for ways to prove that Israel is in the wrong here? How would you respond to their approach?
Well, I'm inviting everyone who have a kind of critical claim to Israel just to come and spend a few days in Israel. during those days, and then go back to your country and decide whether you have kind of a terror organization on the other side of the border that start, firing rocket, let's say out of Kingston, out of anywhere, and then what? What do you expect the country to defend? The responsibility of those democratic countries to protect, first of all, the civilian. And as well, as I remember, at the beginning 2 days of this conflict, even before we launched the campaign, we didn't do anything. We hardly react. We've done a minimal react to let the other side to go back and to pull back and to bring calm again. But they choose differently, and we had to choose differently to react to that.
General, it seems like Hamas wants to keep this going regardless of the human impact on both sides. What do you see unfolding in the next week?
Well, first, this rocket launch to Israel should stop. And it was said, stated clearly by the Prime Minister of Israel just recently, I think an hour ago. This is what we're looking to get, and as for this stage, this is the challenge, and we'll act and react accordingly. If we need to lower or to play with the amount of power we put to try to find, to give them a way to go back, we'll do that. This is for the time being. It's hard to assess what will lead the following day, but still, we have all the options on the table. We have the military ready to do more, as well as to go for a ground operation if needed. Hopefully, we'll not get to this point.
We're out of time. Ed Antayas, I want to thank you very much for your time and analysis on tonight's program.
Thank you very much.